Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is absolutely huge. In a couple of seconds, you will hear from everyone, including former President Donald Trump, polling experts, a whole bunch of people talking about how Trump controls the Republican Party, and you have new demographic groups that are voting for Trump more so than ever before, which spells doom for the Democratic Party. Hit subscribe. In a couple of seconds, you'll hear everyone, including the president, speak. But I want to read you this. The Supreme Court has already made its decision. Okay, it has already made its decision. You heard it here first. This is an NBC News article. In the meantime, Trump remains on the Colorado ballot. It appeared from the oral arguments that he would win the case, so it may mean there is no urgency for the court to issue a ruling quickly if it merely affirms the status quo. The court is not going to it could be this evening, could be tomorrow, could be next week, should be before March 5th, Super Tuesday, but they're not in a rush because they already made the decision, likely in a unanimous decision to overturn the absurd, unconstitutional Colorado ban on Trump. You heard it here first. Hit subscribe to this channel. To my super chat, Paul Bartlett in Australia, thank you so very much. Thank you so much for your support, Paul, and everyone here. To the members on this channel, thank you. This NBC News article states pretty clearly they've already made the decision, ladies and gentlemen. It's likely, I'd say likely, a unanimous decision for Trump overturning the Colorado ban. This gives Trump full control of the Republican Party forever. Because the only thing Democrats can do, and never Trump Republicans, the only thing never Trump Republicans and Democrats can do is get Trump off the ballot. They simply cannot defeat the man without every single possible advantage. So hit subscribe. In a couple of seconds, you'll hear from Trump. You'll hear from polling experts. You'll hear from a whole number of people giving some amazing feedback on Trump's absolute control of the Republican Party and the fact that he's going to win decisively in November of this year. But you can read this paragraph again. There's no rush for the Supreme Court to notify everyone that it's keeping Trump on the ballot and that it's overturning the Colorado ban. They've likely already made their decision. In almost certainly a unanimous 9-0 victory, in a complete rebuke of the absurd unconstitutional ban of Trump, which is what despots, authoritarians, and totalitarians do. Talk about disenfranchising tens of millions, 70 to 80 million Americans. I thought Democrats cared about the right to vote. Hit subscribe, share this everywhere. This is another article. RNC chair, Trump loyalists have taken over the RNC, thank God. We had record low poverty with Trump, record highs in household median income, and we had inflation, less than 3%, interest rates for mortgage rates were around 3% with Trump. They're now 7 to 8% with Biden. So you're paying twice as much every month for your mortgage payment under Biden. So, and then your credit card bills are going up, interest rates are through the roof. And that's the only thing keeping inflation at bay, in addition to the hundreds of millions of barrels of strategic petroleum reserves that Biden pumped into the economy. But hit subscribe to this channel. Let's listen to some really, really interesting polling data showing Trump dominating.
I think what makes this so striking, and I say is it could be a good reason for cause for concern for Democrats, is the Times and Siena also did a series of battleground state polls around this time in 2019, basically the fall between before the 2020 election. And they matched Biden against Trump, and that polling was very good for Biden. He was leading in most of the battleground states. It became something that his campaign pushed as part of their message to Democratic primary voters of electability. And now, basically exactly 4 years later, the same polling outlet is again polling battleground states, and consistently finding a different result.
And Steve, where has the president lost ground since 4 years ago in terms of voting groups?
Yeah, so what's really interesting in this poll, and the write-up in the Times really gets to this, is they say they found, you remember in 2016 when Trump won the election, it was Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Those were the three industrial states that he flipped and that were responsible for getting him into the White House. But where he's made the biggest gains, at least according to this polling, relative to the 2020 election, Nevada is the biggest, where he's got the double-digit lead. That was a Biden state in 2016 and 2020. Georgia, went for Biden, 6-point lead. What they're saying is younger voters, non-white voters, are showing more of a proclivity to back Trump, and certainly more of an aversion to Biden than we've seen before. And how that manifests itself, just quickly, we could take a look here. The Road to 270 Electoral College map, we'll be using this a lot over the next year, but, set it back to where it's at. In the same result from 2020 with the new reapportionment, Biden actually starts off with 3 fewer Electoral College votes, Trump with 3 more. And those 3 states where he's shown the biggest improvement, Trump has, according to this polling, if you could see, it would still put him short of 270. He'd be 268, Biden at 270. So even if he gets those 3 where he's made the biggest improvement, he still will need to win at least one of those Midwest states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin.
And Steve, before I let you go, you mentioned those changing demographics.
So Trump is currently up in Michigan. He's currently up in Michigan, up in Nevada. So he's decisively over 270 because he's up in Michigan. Pennsylvania, he's doing very well. Wisconsin, has a very good chance, just like in 2016. So that's actually very huge. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the control of the Republican Party is not just ensuring that Trump is on the ballot, not just the RNC, Ronna McDaniel leaving. It's the fact that he dominates in the polls, more so than Nikki Haley or anyone else, infinitely more so. Because when they say that Nikki Haley is doing better than Trump against Biden here and there, it's complete nonsense. It's complete nonsense because you haven't had all of media go after Trump. Okay? All of media go after Biden in the same way that all of media go after Nikki Haley or Chris Christie or anybody, DeSantis. If all of media went after Nikki Haley the way, and late night comedians, and CNN and the Washington Post, if they all went after Nikki Haley in the manner that they go after Trump, it would be no contest. She would be losing by 20 points to Biden. That's what people don't realize when they look at polls, or like you see these analysts. Trump is doing even better than you think. He's up, and he's actually even doing better than you think. Okay, he's doing good in places like Colorado. So he's doing a lot better than you think, ladies and gentlemen. We can watch this right here. This is another similar type of report. This is the interesting polling data that shows that Trump, despite getting indicted under 91 criminal charges, which people know are purely politically motivated, you have to be stupid to think it's about the rule of law, he's still up. Because the average American knows that Democrats are utilizing political machines, Tammany Hall, etc., against Trump. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Donald Trump's legal problems don't seem to be impacting his poll numbers. In fact, the New York Times poll released over the weekend showed the former president leading current President Joe Biden in 5 of 6 key swing states, and that includes right here in Arizona, where he has a 5% edge here, also in Nevada, Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. The only state where Biden has the edge, swing state, is Wisconsin, with a year from tomorrow.
So it's really no contest. If Trump he's not disqualified, he won't be. And if anything, the Supreme Court has already made its decision. So hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. The Supreme Court has already made its decision, ladies and gentlemen. He will not be disqualified. And it'll likely be a unanimous decision. Here's an NBC News article talking about how because the Supreme Court is taking its time with the day, they're likely debating whether it's unanimous or not. Because, you know, the pressure to mitigate anything good for Trump is immense. So it'll be a unanimous or at least a 7-2 decision to overturn the Colorado ban, which will, like I said, which will ensure that Trump controls the Republican Party forever, thank God. Okay, because he's getting demographic groups, young voters, black voters, Latino voters. He's getting more non-white voters than any Republican ever. And the Republican Party right now is really nothing without Trump. Okay, then you'd have Chris Christie and Nikki Haley. They would lose by 30 million votes in the general. So here you have it, NBC News. In the meantime, Trump remains on the ballot. It appeared from the oral arguments that he would win the case, so it may mean there's no urgency from the court to issue a ruling quickly if it merely affirms the status quo. It will affirm the status quo and offer a tremendous response. The fact that they're overturning the ban means that you can never again accuse Trump of fomenting a rebellion because the Supreme Court did not see it that way. Okay, the Supreme Court simply did not see it that way. Okay, so let's just... Here you have some other interesting polling data.
Going for Trump. Is that why you think Biden is slightly ahead in Wisconsin, but barely?
Yeah, and it's the irony because the big strength for Trump originally was that he was able to flip these 3 states, but Biden right now continues to lead in Wisconsin. Trump does in this polling have an advantage in Michigan and Pennsylvania, but Wisconsin in particular, but all 3 of those states have older populations. In Wisconsin in particular, not a lot of non-white voters in Wisconsin. And actually, if you say what's powering Trump right now to better numbers is surprising support from younger voters and non-white voters, that's actually a recipe to struggle a little bit in those upper Midwest states. And it's more.
But it's not really, because if you already have older voters voting for Trump anyway, and then he's getting new demographics to vote Republican in 24, and we'll get to a really interesting Fox News interview. He can't be stopped. He can win Pennsylvania, and he can win Michigan, okay, and Wisconsin, just like in 2016. So this is amazing news, ladies and gentlemen. He's absolutely not. He will not be disqualified. And you heard it here first. They've pretty much already made the decision. This is absolutely huge. They've already made the decision, ladies and gentlemen. They're just waiting, taking their sweet time. So they're really just taking their sweet time. And you can read again. So Colorado decision would be expected to issue a normal ruling day, while the immunity he will probably lose, but that doesn't really mean much because that case will go into 25. When he becomes president, he'll do away with it. He'll do away with the special counsel because the special counsel is a politically motivated stunt by Biden's administration, but it's also part of the executive branch. So Biden's executive branch, yes, Biden himself, went after his direct political rivals in a manner that they accused Trump of in a phone call. Typical, the hypocrisy is unbelievable. But anyway, it says right here, they've already made the decision. It's going to be unanimous in my view, 7-2 at worst case scenario, 7-2. But they tried to ban Trump, saying that he was Hello, Dean from Miami Beach. Hello, Dean. Hello. Thank you for watching for so long, Dean. This is absolutely huge, ladies and gentlemen. And you combine that, you combine the Supreme Court decision that they've already made, that they haven't notified the public of yet. Almost certainly already made. Almost certainly. Okay? I can't state that I know with certainty that they've already made the decision, but you could say almost certainly they've made one of the most historic decisions in American history. One of the most monumental, this is, they say democracy is at stake. Yeah, voting for Trump ensures that democracy remains alive. Continuing to vote for Democrats who've created this stupid Cold War, McCarthy-era Red Scare nonsense since 2016, where we're supposed to fear the Kremlin at all costs, always, and every laptop, every incriminating bribery and graft scheme that they have, it's always another country that wants you to know. I mean, honestly, you'd have to be an imbecile to believe all that nonsense. It's complete, not only propaganda, it's just pure nonsense. But let's listen to Trump really quickly, and you'll see here the Republican Party has changed forever. This is interesting with Lindsey Graham.
Thank you very much, sir. Really great job. Amazing. Another man not a lot of people know him. He doesn't do too much television. He happens to be a little bit further left than some of the people on the stage. But I always say, when I'm in trouble on the left, I call up Lindsay Graham and he straightens it out so fast. And I'll tell you, no, remember. I love him. He's a good man. Come up here, Lindsay. Come here.
Okay, you ready? America, the nightmare you're facing is just about over. Help is on the way. This is the most qualified man to be president of the United States. And let it be said that South Carolina created the biggest political comeback in American history.
Thank you, Lindsay.
So, can you imagine a time where, ladies and gentlemen, when Lindsey Graham would be booed in South Carolina after a Republican candidate wins the South Carolina primary? Okay, it's completely a Trump Republican, populist Republican political party. Okay, populism is if you look at the way Trump and his populism, if you look at his achievements, record low poverty, there's no rebuttal from the left. Record highs in household median income. That's Trump populism. Bringing home Americans with the Doha Agreement that Biden completely botched because it was a May 1st, 2021 withdrawal. Okay, Trump populism. First president to step foot in North Korea. Trump populism. Okay, what's President Obama's lasting legacy? What is it? The ACA? Okay. Aside from that, foreign policy destroyed Libya with a failed intervention. Trump didn't destroy Libya. President Obama and Biden did. And Madam Secretary, who I think will replace our current commander-in-chief eventually. And so Democrats are actively, they're talking about replacing Biden. When I told you years back that they would replace Biden, now they're talking about replacing Biden because he's terrible and everyone knows it. Even Democrats know it. We had a great economy with Trump and a great foreign policy with Trump. And the only thing people didn't like was his personality. He allocated more funding and made the funding permanent to historically black colleges and universities. He gave more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president. President Obama, Clinton, Bush, Biden, anyone. And made the funding permanent. And now you have African American and black voters voting more for Trump than ever before. Let's listen to a really, really interesting interview here.
President of the Black Conservative Federation. He took that video and he joins us now. Quentin, good morning to you. Tell us more about that video and the responses you got. Did everybody really pick Donald Trump over Joe Biden?
Good morning. The videos are as clear as we can make them. We spent about an entire day going across different communities on the south side of Chicago, and the resounding response that we received is that Black Americans are fed up with Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. They feel as if the campaign made a lot of promises that they didn't hold up to. They feel used for their votes. And there's a large shift that we're seeing across Black America, across the country, where they're leaning more towards Donald Trump and Republicans, and the Democratic Party is falling far behind.
Why, Quentin? What are they saying about Donald Trump when you speak to folks who live in black communities and inner city neighborhoods?
One of the things that's playing in Donald Trump's favor is that Black Americans are starting to become more involved in conversations that they typically would not have been. So Donald Trump is starting to sound like he was right on a lot of topics. The migrant crisis is one that is a clear example. Black and brown communities are being disproportionately affected as illegal migrants are being pushed into their communities. They're being given resources that Black Americans have been fighting for decades, and the Democratic Party doesn't seem to have an answer for it. And the Black community just feels as if, again, they've been lied to, they've been used for their votes. And it's obvious that the resources have been there because they're being given away to people who don't even pay taxes.
Oh my gosh, so true about that. And we're hearing that from Black residents across the country. And
So can you imagine Chris Christie or Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan or Nikki Haley doing well among black voters, among young voters, among Latino voters? The Republican Party that Trump has taken over is a completely new political party, okay? The Trump brand of populism makes people wealthier. This is a fact. We had record low poverty, record highs in household median income. Every demographic group in this country was doing better under Trump. You can look at the St. Louis Fed economic charts. You can look at all the economic data. In 2019, we had a roaring, amazing economy with low interest rates and low inflation. Okay? We had an amazing economy. And that is a fact. And then Democrats and media and bureaucrats push to shut down economic activity. They push to shut down economic activity. And they did so in the most apoplectic, in the most irresponsible and hysterical manner. You couldn't even go to get a cup of coffee. And people lost their jobs, and then Biden comes into office, and they said, "Oh, he created these jobs." No, he didn't. Most of the jobs they attribute to Biden were people going back to work after Democrats allowed them to do so. So they pumped trillions and trillions and pushed for eviction moratoriums and said, "Oh, we're the good, moral, just political party." Well, you stopped people from working. What do you expect? Of course you push for an eviction moratorium. And so you didn't have to do all that stuff. And every time Trump said open up, they said, "Oh, contrary to experts." No, Trump is not listening to the experts. And so the Democratic Party experts, because you always get these like historians, "Oh, Trump was ranked last." Like, these are liberal historians. These are liberal experts. You find an expert that agrees with you from a political vantage point, because the experts that didn't agree were kicked off of Twitter. That's why Elon Musk eventually purchased Twitter. What Democrats do is they create a fabricated consensus. They ask only smart people who agree with them. Smart people who disagree with them should never have been born. They were horrible. They were, oh my God, bad people. And they were excommunicated and, kicked out of polite society and should never be platformed again. So that's how things work. But if you talk to conservative historians, Trump is up there. He's one of the greatest presidents we've had. And I agree with that. He is one of the greatest. You look at the accomplishments, okay, and you look at the things that when you don't ask the morally superior liberal Democrats, but if you were to ask, like, what is the worst thing Trump did? Well, I tried to overthrow the country. It's like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Where's the evidence of this other than you watching selectively edited videos and you ignoring videos from Tucker Carlson showing that people were acquitted eventually from the exculpatory evidence, showing videos of the doors being opened by law enforcement? That's not a rebellion. And so what's the worst thing that he did? This is democracy at stake. Yeah, if you want democracy, vote for Trump in 24. Because he's the only person who could withstand 91 criminal charges, politically motivated. See, here's the thing. They don't realize that, like, Hillary Clinton had servers. Trump did not. Hunter Biden had a laptop. Trump did not. These people actually have major scandals that border or that are overtly criminal. Trump doesn't. So you have to say he compelled people to commit crimes. There's no evidence that he even said the word peaceful. But anyway, let's continue here. Let's go ahead. This is also one of the things you look, ladies and gentlemen, and it's one of the reasons Trump is so popular and Trump is so, like, the fabricated outrage. Like, if Trump was a Democrat, he would be the greatest rock star, celebrity president of all time. Because he's a Republican and he tweets mean things, oh my God, he's like, the devil incarnate. But this is exactly why Trump can't be touched. The man cannot be touched. And he's the most honest president of all time. They say he's dishonest. You couldn't find more dishonest people than on the Democratic Party side about major things. Oh, I didn't know about my, the business dealings of Hunter. Yeah, you did. That's a greater lie than anything Trump has ever told. Which is like about crowd size, or he engages in hyperbole, and then they say he's lying. It's hyperbolic. The rhetoric is hyperbolic. Then they say this is not true. Meanwhile, Democrats routinely make the most false statements possible and get away with it. But anyway, let's listen to one of the reasons he's taken over the Republican Party. Hit subscribe if you're new right now. And to my super chat, thank you so very much.
But for Biden, you need many. But when I imitate him with the stairs, because he never can find his way. If you ever see Secret Service runs up and grabs him and, helps him off the stage. This is what we have negotiating nuclear weapons. So he finishes his speech, and do you ever notice? He finishes it. The speeches last about, would you say, average 2-3 minutes, right? Very quick. They're very quick and not good. Not good. But the press gives him good marks. I remember when he made such a bad State of the Union speech. Everything was stumbling, mumbling. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I said, I'm going to watch CNN, MSDNC to find out what they say, because that was one of the worst speeches. They said, not since FDR has there been a speech so magnificently delivered. I'm telling you, I've never, ever forgotten it. Not since FDR. I said, it's impossible. They're fake. They're terrible. But you know what? When he goes, and he always points, he goes like this. Thank you. Where am I? Thank you. And then he goes. And he points. You ever notice? And it's always he ends up going in the opposite direction ultimately. But he goes. And then. Sometimes he trips over the machine. And then we don't have it here. But if there's a wall behind him, he ends up walking into the wall. And then one of these incredible guys from Secret Service, all these beautiful guys, they run up stage. Look at these guys, like central casting, right? They'll run up stage, they'll grab them, and they're not meant to smile. You know, they're very hard line. When I tell stories, they're like this. I guess they're trained that way. They never smile. You say, good morning. Well, sure. They actually turn away. It's good. This way you don't have to say good morning all the time, okay? They train them this way. But so one of these guys will run up and grab him and take him off the stage. This is what we have as our president. But the worst thing is when I do that, the fake news. I call up my wife, our great first lady. She was a great first. People love her. Yeah, people love her. Oh, look at that. Wow. Mercedes, that's pretty good. Yeah, she's good. And she loves our country and she loves the people. It's true. When I give these big rallies, we give rallies, they say, we love our first lady. They have signs, we love her. They always show a high heel, you know. But we love our first lady. But I call up our first lady, I say, so baby, how good was that? She goes, you were okay. She's a very tough critic. I'll go into a group, I'll speak in front of 55, 56, 68,000 people sometimes. I'll call her up, I'll say, how good was I tonight? Was that unbelievable? She goes, well, your hair didn't look good. Oh, that's not good. But it's very hard to get like, you know, once in a while she goes, you were really good tonight, but that's like a major. But I said, in this case, I said, how good was that tonight? She said, you were really good tonight, but what happened? You couldn't find your way off the stage. Because the fake news said Donald Trump couldn't find his way off the stage. I said, wow. Or when I interject a name, like I go, our president, Barack Hussein Obama. Rush Limbaugh, remember? He would always, right, Seb? Rush would go, Barack Hussein. I don't know exactly what he meant by that. I think I do. But he'd go, Barack Hussein. So I'd go, I meant that because there are those people that say he's running our country because Joe is not strong on aptitude. So there are those. We don't know that that's true. But they go out and they say, Donald Trump, headline. Donald Trump doesn't know who the president of our country. He thinks Obama's the president, Lou. Look at the great Lou Dobbs. He thinks Obama is the president. So when I'm sarcastic, because I'm sort of a sarcastic guy, I find humor in sarcasm, but it's very dangerous to do because they take it very seriously. But it's a very serious subject because of what happened. To finish the first story, what happened? Hey, by the way, isn't this better than reading off a frickin' teleprompter? Right? Right?
If you listen to Trump for more than, that's like why people should subscribe to this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to this channel, subscribe. If you listen to Trump, Jigsaw, hello. If you listen, Paul Bartlett, thank you so very much. I cannot repay you ever. I mean, you're just amazing. Nicholas and Paul, and I have so many amazing viewers from around the world, in the Philippines and Canada and the UK, New Zealand, Australia. To my viewers in Australia, Paul and Nicholas and everybody, thank you so much. I just thank you, my goodness. But you listen to Trump, how can you not like the man? How can you not find him amusing? I mean, there's just no way, in my view, how you can not find Trump amusing. And the only reason people find him repulsive is that he defeats Democrats. Jigsaw, thank you. Thank you for being a member. Thank you, greatly appreciated. So, people don't really listen to Trump. They don't really, they don't get a chance to actually listen to Trump. So if you, subscribe to this channel, I will, you're going to hear a lot of speeches. You're going to hear a lot of public record speeches where Trump is not taken out of context. Because when he's taken out of context, the most negative intent is ascribed to Trump. And that's just purely self-serving for Democrats. Hit subscribe if you're new. Let's go ahead. And this is, we should probably get, this is going to be exactly why if you look, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be exactly why there's going to be a unanimous decision. So they've already made their decision, in my view. Okay? It's pretty much, they've already made their decision. But the Supreme Court, once they go 9-0, it's a complete and utter refutation, a rebuke of the way media, it's going to debunk. That's they use the word debunk. It's going to debunk the nonsense that says that Trump tried to overthrow the government. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. This is amazing. This is Samuel Alito taking Colorado to task.
Justice Alito?
Suppose there's a country that proclaims again and again and again that the United States is its biggest enemy, and suppose that the President of the United States, for diplomatic reasons, think that it's in the best interests of the United States to provide funds or release funds so that they can be used by that country. Could a state determine that that person has given aid and comfort to the enemy and therefore keep that person off the ballot?
No, Your Honor. This court has never interpreted the aid and comfort language, which also is present in the treason clause. But commentators have suggested, it's been rarely applied because treason prosecutions are so rare, but commentators have suggested that, first of all, that aid and comfort really only applies in the context of a declared war, or at least an adversarial relationship where there is, in fact, a war between two countries. And second, the intent standard would do a lot of work there, because under Section 3, whatever the underlying conduct is, engaging in insurrection or aid and comfort has to be done with the intent to further the unlawful purpose of the insurrection or to aid the enemies in their pursuit of war against the United States.
Now, let me come back to the question of what we would do if different states had adjudicated the question of whether former President Trump is an insurrectionist using a different record, different rulings on the admissibility of evidence, perhaps different standards of proof, then what would we do?
Ultimately, this court would, first of all, if there were deficiencies in the record, the court could either refuse to hear the case or it could decide on the basis of deficiencies of the record.
Well, what would we have to decide? What is the appropriate rule of evidence that should be applied in this case? Would we have to decide what is the appropriate standard of proof? Would we give any deference to these findings by state court judges, some of whom may be elected? Would we have to have our own trial?
No, Your Honor. This court takes the evidentiary record as it's given, and here we have an evidentiary record that all the parties agree is sufficient for a decision in this case. And then, as I discussed earlier, there's a possibility of a Bose Corp independent review of the facts. But ultimately, what we have here is an insurrection that was incited in plain sight.
But you're really not answering my question. It's not helpful if you don't do that. Suppose we have two different records, two different bodies of evidence, two different rulings on questions of admissibility.
So Justice Alito is saying the following. If he hasn't been convicted, and Colorado decides that he committed a rebellion, but Michigan decides that he didn't commit a rebellion, who do you believe? Okay, the whole point is that Colorado, like the Democratic Party, accused Trump of something that he didn't do, that he wasn't even indicted for, that he wasn't convicted of, and that exculpatory video and evidence shows actually acquitted people. What MSNBC and CNN and others have done is selectively edited videos showing chaos and mayhem, which happened every single day that summer. And they said mostly peaceful. And I agree with why people peacefully demonstrated, but there was billions upon billions in property damage and lives lost. And you have thousands, 10,000 people, no, 10 to 14,000 arrested throughout that summer. And so is that a rebellion? What if a conservative state, what if, let's say, a state that's in the middle, Nevada, says, hey, you know what? People who committed property crime, vandalism, all these torching cars or businesses, or, you know what? This is a rebellion against the United States of America. We're going to charge these people with rebellion. Is that a rebellion? Or is it only a rebellion when it's after a Trump speech? And so everyone knows what's going on. Democrats have the loudest. They have the ability to proclaim in the loudest manner the most absurd statements that Trump committed a rebellion, tried to overthrow democracy. And then the lawyer for Colorado says, well, the evidence here, nobody disagrees with the evidence. Are you kidding? Everyone does. Nobody believes that Trump committed a rebellion. Only Democrats do. Nobody truly believes that Trump, he's up in the polls. So the average American who wants Trump back in office thinks that he tried to overthrow the country? No, he didn't do that. It was a chaotic scene that media ran with and made something out of it that doesn't exist. And then Colorado tried to ban him, and that's what authoritarians and totalitarians and despots do. They ban their political opponents. Democrats want to ban Trump and then pontificate about voter suppression. Hit subscribe if you're new to this channel.
Two different standards of proof, two different sets of fact findings by two different judges, or maybe multiple, two different bodies of evidence, these findings by state court judges, some of whom may be elected. Would we have to have our own trial?
No, Your Honor. This court takes the evidentiary record as it's given, and here we have an evidentiary record that all the parties agree is sufficient for a decision in this case. And then, as I discussed earlier, there's a possibility of a Bose Corp independent review of the facts. But ultimately, what we have here is an insurrection that was incited in plain sight.
But you're really not answering my question. It's not helpful if you don't do that. Suppose we have two different records, two different bodies of evidence, two different rulings on questions of admissibility, two different standards of proof, two different sets of fact findings by two different judges, or maybe multiple judges in multiple states. Then what do we do?
Well, first, this court would set the legal standard, and then it would decide which view of the record was correct, I think, under that. If this
which view of what record? Which record?
If this court had two cases before it, and both of the records were sufficient insofar as both sides had the opportunity to present their case and the essential facts in the record that everyone agreed was sufficient for decision, then this court would have to look at the evidence presented and decide which holding was correct, and then decide that issue for the country. And certainly here, when there is a complete record, lower courts then will be applying that decision, and I think it's unlikely that any court would say, we're going to reach a different decision than the U.S. Supreme Court did, particularly if the court relies on the facts, the indisputable facts of what President Trump said on video and in his Twitter feed, which is really the essence of our case here.
So the essence of their case is that Trump said go peacefully and patriotically? That's literally what Trump stated. The essence is that he didn't agree. The Atlantic already published an article pertaining to Democrats not accepting results. They're already not going to accept results, people. And you heard that here first also. You can read the Atlantic. It's right there regarding certification. There's an article the other day. They're paving the way not to accept Trump's victory, which will be hilarious. We'll have live streams. It'll be fun. It'll be awesome. And then but when they do it, it's fine. When they do it, no problem. When Trump does it, oh my God, democracy. And so they're already paving the way not to accept the result when Trump absolutely obliterates and defeats the incumbent or whoever replaces the incumbent. So, but the interesting thing is that the lawyers are looking at Trump's words. Oh, it's right there. I mean, he's trying to overthrow the country. Where? What words? He didn't say go and commit any violent act or criminal act, break any laws, enter a building. He never said any of those things. Whereas you have Chuck Schumer literally targeting justices, and then Kavanaugh almost lost his life. You have literally targeting. Chuck Schumer said, "You won't know what hit you." I mean, these are like threatening statements from the Democratic senator. And you had another Democratic congresswoman saying, "Get in people's faces." Trump didn't give specific commands or, make threatening statements to any individual. He was upset. Big deal. But see, Trump cannot have any indignation, he can't disagree with, cherish. When Democrats are victorious, they need every single possible advantage, and then it still takes a long time. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Hit subscribe. I might have a live stream, and I probably won't, but we'll do 2 a day starting March 1st. I will, of course, be back tomorrow. But hit subscribe to this channel if you're new, ladies and gentlemen, and share this everywhere. The Supreme Court, in my view, has already ruled in Trump's favor, and in the most historic, really amazing ruling that protects democracy. See, Democrats view democracy as taking Trump off the ballot. What could be more undemocratic than that? My God. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Paul Bartlett, everyone here, thank you so very much to my super chat, Paul and Dean and Tom. And thank you so very much, everybody. God bless you. Have a great evening. I'll